Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. This is a weekly market update live stream. I would like to welcome all of you to my YouTube channel. If you are new to the channel, if you're watching this live stream for the very first time, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Please make sure to like the live stream. If you are not following me over Twitter, 𝗟R𝘁𝗶𝗵𝘁𝘀, this is my Twitter handle. I occasionally post calls, market updates over my Twitter account as well. So please make sure that you are following the Twitter account also. If you would like to receive more organized updates and calls, you can always join in the Discord server. The link you can find in the description of this video. All the details you can find in the chat box as well. If you have any questions throughout the stream, any chart requests, you can always drop in the chat box. Let's start with the economic calendar for the rest of the week, because I would really like to talk about it. And by the way, I'm going to publish a more detailed update on that because we just had some important data releasing. We just had some important data release an hour ago. The core retail sales data, the retail sales data, and the unemployment claims. The unemployment claims data tomorrow, and then we have decision on FOMC, the FOMC decision, the decision on rate cut, interest rates tomorrow. That is going to be one of the most important event for this week, one of the most important event of the month. So please make sure to keep an eye on this. I'll be writing a detailed market update on that, but just to give you a brief overview, the forecast for the retail sales was at negative 0.5%. The actual data turned out to be negative 0.9%, which is not really good. But once again, I would be writing a detailed update on that, publishing it in the market updates channel of Discord server and on my Twitter account as well. Then we have the second most important data point, which is going to be published tomorrow. It's the unemployment claims. We know that the forecast is for 246K. The previous number was 248K. The average for the past 9 to 10 months has been around 240K, which is not a good thing. It has been staying around the 240K number, which is the highest in the past 4 years or so. And then we have the second most important data point, which is the decision about the interest rate. If I show you the dot plot, and by the way, the FOMC meeting has already started. If you would go to the CME Watch Group website, you would see that the next FOMC meeting is in 1 day, 4 hours, 53 minutes. But the meeting has already started. It's basically a 2-day meeting. The decision you would have tomorrow. But whenever we talk about the decision of interest rates, we always look at the dot plot, and you can see that there is a 99.8% probability that the rates are going to stay the same. You can see that there is 99.8% probability that there is not going to be any change in the interest rates, and we already know the reasons. I have been writing detailed update on that, and there has been hardly any instance at which the decision was opposite to what was projected in the dot plot, right? There have been only two instances. I guess one was back in the 90s when market was not expecting the outcome, and the second was during the COVID days, during that crisis situation when market was not expecting something and the opposite thing happened, right? Apart from that, we have FOMC every few months, and usually the decision is always, or the outcome is always, what is usually priced in. But I would like to talk about the decision about interest rates. Yes, we know that there is 99.8% probability that the interest rates are going to remain the same, which means that this is very much already priced in. Obviously, if you have rate cuts, markets are going to react bullish. If you have no rate cuts, and market reaction should not really be anything surprising to you. Like, markets would have a muted sort of reaction. But something which is not priced in, something which is never really priced in, is a report which gets published. In fact, two important events. The first is the FOMC press conference. This press conference that people usually do not pay attention to, it is usually 30 minutes after the decision of interest rates is announced. The language is very important. The questions that are being asked, the responses, those things, they're really important, and people would be keeping an eye on that. The second most important thing is a report that is being published, report about the projections and everything. There is a complete detailed report which is being published along with the decision about interest rates. People usually do not pay attention to that. And if I give you an example to this, back in September 2024, we had first rate cuts in the last 4 years, right? And that was a bullish scenario. Markets obviously rallied. Soon after that, Bitcoin had a move, if I remember correctly, from 59,000 up to 65,000, 66,000 back in those days. Then in the month December 2024, we had another decision on rate cut, right? Once again, we had rate cuts, but at that time, markets reacted negatively, and we had a drop in the Bitcoin price. We had a drop from 98,000 or maybe 103,000 down to 92,000, 93,000. At that time, people were asking the question that we just had the rate cuts once again. Interest rates have been lowered, then why exactly the market is reacting negatively? And at that time, I was constantly explaining to everybody that, you need to look at the report, you need to look at the projections, because back in the month of September 2024, we had 4 anticipated rate cuts. The Fed was anticipating that there are going to be at least 4 rate cuts in the year 2025. So there were projections of 4 rate cuts. Then in the month of December, looking at the labor market data, looking at the data for inflation and everything, we know that Fed takes into account all of these different variables, right? PPI data, CPI data, and everything. Based on that, the projections were downgraded to 2, meaning that they said there would be only 2 rate cuts in the year 2025. Now, we had FOMC in the month of Feb, then we had FOMC in the month of March or April, if I remember correctly. I don't have the exact timeline. In fact, let's take a look at the website when we had the last FOMC. So we had FOMC back in the month of, the past data is not available around here. But anyways, so, we had 2 or 3 FOMC meetings in the past 4 or 5 months, and the projected rate cut number has still stayed at 2, which is actually a good thing, meaning that market is still expecting that, or Fed is still expecting that there are going to be at least 2 rate cuts in the year 2025. And I believe that they're a bit late because, if we have to do 2 rate cuts, they need to make the decision immediately. And if we look at the projections for the next month's FOMC, the next one is in the month of July, we can see that there is still 87.5% probability that rates are going to remain the same. And I've been saying this, that the 2 quarters that I'm looking at, or I believe that, we are going to have rate cuts in the last 2 quarters, just like we had in the year 2024. And at that time, Fed did mention that their reaction was a bit late. And, probably the same mistake that they are doing right now, because Trump has been constantly pushing Fed to cut rates. He has been giving examples of other economies, the EU economy and the other economies around the world, China, for example, who have been constantly reducing the interest rates in their countries. But Fed has been cautious so far, and for good reasons. They have their own reasons: tariffs, inflation, everything, macroeconomic uncertainty, global geopolitical uncertainty and everything, they have their own reasons, right? And tariffs introduced by Trump were the topmost reason because of which Fed has been a little bit reluctant to cut the interest rates, and they have been very open about it. They have been very open about it, and people have been saying that probably Fed is suffering from the tariff syndrome. People have been giving names to them, but yeah, this is the reality right now. If we look at the projections for the month September 2025, we can see that there is still a 56.5% probability that rates are going to remain the same. But in my personal opinion, that's when you're going to have the first rate cut for the year 2025, which is going to be the positive thing for the market. The same kind of timeline we had in the year 2024 as well. The next FOMC is going to be in the month of October and then December, and that's when you're going to have the second rate cut, probably in the month of October or probably in the month of December, right? But the overall timeline looks bullish, and we know that the summers are usually always quiet. The volumes are usually low during the summer. Sell in the May and then buy later. There have been statements like this, but the overall timeline matches to what we have seen during the past few years, meaning that you're going to have two rate cuts if the projection stays the same, which is the second most important point that I was trying to make, because so far the projections have stayed the same. So far the market is still expecting two rate cuts, and we know that for this month's FOMC, which the decision for which is going to be announced tomorrow, we know that the rates are going to remain the same. There is 99% probability that rates are going to remain the same, which means that this has already been priced in. Something which has not been priced in is the projection and the tone. We obviously cannot predict the tone part, but the projection part is something we can talk about. So in the month of December, we had a huge dump in the Bitcoin price, in the crypto price. The reason was that the projections had reduced from 4 to 2. And now if during this month's statements, or the report that is being published, if the projections are further reduced from 2 down to 1, that is going to be a really bearish thing for the market. And that is why I'm always suggesting to everybody that instead of just looking at the numbers, instead of just looking at what the decision is, you need to look at the report as well, because that's where the real data is hidden. But anyways, this is all about the FOMC meeting, which has been going on, the decision for which is going to be announced tomorrow. Make sure to keep an eye on. This is not the best time to trade. We have one long position open right now, which is slightly underwater, I would say. The DC has not been filled as of yet. I have been looking to open one more short position, which I'll be talking about later on. Probably as soon as the market opens in the next 15 minutes, that's when we would have a little bit of more clarity as to what exactly is going to happen with the market, right? Because we had this huge sell-off candle during the last 24 hours when Trump suddenly out of nowhere announced that. And in case you have no knowledge of what exactly has been going on in the outside world, Iran and Israel, they have been exchanging airdrop of missiles with each other. And the conflict has been going on since Friday, 13th of June. That's when Israel first of all fired missiles at Iran, saying that they need to limit their capabilities of achieving the nuclear weapons. I'm sure you would already know about all of those things, but the conflict has been going on for the past 3 to 4 days. The reaction to this conflict, if you look at the reaction in the traditional markets and the crypto market, the reaction was somewhat muted, meaning that we do not have any reaction, we do not have any negative reaction so far. Till Trump made a tweet just yesterday. He was attending the G7 summit. He was in Canada, and he cut short his trip. He said that, he made this tweet saying that, Iran should have accepted this deal. It should have saved a lot of lives, and the people of Tehran, they need to evacuate the city immediately. That's when you had this massive sell-off candle in the traditional markets. That's when you had this massive sell-off candle. Now, once again, you can blame it on support and resistance levels, or you can just blame it on the traditional news events, or whatever you would like to do with the news. But that's when Bitcoin was trading at $109,000 resistance level, and that's when you had this immediate sell-off candle, a huge sell-off candle from 109,000 all the way down to 106,000, and then the sell-off has been going on so far because there has been a lot of uncertainty in the market. There has been this conflict going on in the Middle East, and the markets were anticipating that, the US markets were anticipating that when the conflict started initially back on Friday, there was a somewhat negative reaction in the market. And the reaction was because of the oil prices. And by the way, the oil prices jumped immediately, almost like 3 to 4%, and the oil prices have been up almost 7 to 8% since this conflict started almost 4 to 5 days ago. We had this 2% jump in the last 24 hours during the Asian session when Trump made this tweet that the people need to evacuate the city immediately. Obviously, this was a very uncertain kind of situation, but in my personal opinion, the reaction was somewhat muted. The initial reaction was negative because there were a lot of talks going on that maybe Iran would, they would close the Strait of Hormuz. That's where that's the pathway from which the 25% of global oil supply, is being carried. It's a very important pathway. It's a very important channel. But there have been talks going on. There has been this news that maybe they're considering closing the Strait of Hormuz, and which, in my opinion, is going to be the only negative thing. Or at least I thought at that time that this could be the only negative thing, and this is what the market was expecting. But obviously, it's not an easy thing to do. There are a lot of different variables involved. They have not done so in the past. They have not tried to do so in the past because it's a very important pathway. It's a very important route, not just for other major economies, but for China as well and for Iran as well. So they have said that they're seriously considering doing so, but I highly doubt if they would, just do that. So that's how markets have some sort of muted reaction. We did not see any negative reaction in the market during the weekend as well. We had, the market just trading sideways, and back on Monday we had this massive move towards upside. Even right now as well, S&P 500 is trading just 2% shy of its all-time high. Okay, meaning that nothing much has happened in the markets. Even when we talk at this moment, S&P 500 is still sitting at this support level, just 2% away from the new all-time high. So the point is that nothing much really has happened. But in the crypto market, during the past 4 to 5 days, almost $1 billion have been liquidated because people have been trying to just, some catch the falling knives. Price, we had this drop, back on Friday. Then we had this move towards 106,000. And if you guys remember, that's when we took a short position. Somebody pointed out in the chat that the video is lagging, the live stream is lagging. Please let me know in the chat box if there has been any such problem, because everything is working fine at my end. Everything seems to be working fine at my end. Please let me know in the chat box if everything is working good. I don't have lags. Yeah, okay. So if you're experiencing any lag in the live stream, so maybe you just need to restart it. Yeah, okay. Because the internet connection and everything, it's working fine at my end. Okay, so to continue the discussion, we had this tweet. I was talking about the initial reaction. The initial reaction was negative, obviously, but over the weekend, you would remember that we took this short position. This was because of the anchored VWAP. I would explain to you the complete logic behind that. And then we had another rejection. That's when our short got stopped break even after the first TP we took. And then we had this break towards upside. Price just had the small retest at the support. Then we had moved towards upside up to 109,000. I mean, the reaction at these levels has been so beautiful, right? Even if you look at this chart, you can see that the reaction at 106,000 VWAP, then we had a break above, break above 106,000 resistance level, flipped it into support. That's when we had the first retest of this level. The first retest, successful one, then price came back up to 109,000. That's when you had the resistance retest, because this is a small double top as well. That's when you had the rejection, price dropped back down to this level. Once again, VWAP, a positive reaction, $1,000 jump. Once again, we had a break below. So far, price has been reacting positively to all of these things. I was talking about the timeline that the initial reaction was negative, but the market recovered immediately because there was anticipation that Iran is not going to take any extreme measures. There is not going to be any sort of bigger conflict. This is just going to be a conflict between the two countries. And US explicitly mentioned that they are not going to be involved in any of these things. But during the past 24 hours, Trump with his tweets has added a lot of uncertainty into the situation when he said that two or three very important things. First, he left the G7 summit early. The only deal that they talked about was a deal between the UK, a trade deal between the UK and the US. He had to leave. His staff said that he had to leave the G7 summit early to attend some very important meetings because of the geopolitical situation that has been going on that has been going on in the Middle East. And then he made the tweet saying that the people of Tehran, they need to evacuate the city immediately. That's when the panic started. That's when we had this massive sell-off candle, because then people started thinking that it has not happened so far, by the way. I don't know, what exactly is going on that end, if they are really going to participate in this war or not, or in this conflict or not. But, it was anticipated from that tweet that maybe US is trying to get involved into this situation, because there has been a lot of pressure from Israel that US needs to get involved into this conflict. Being an ally, they need to support Israel in this conflict. So maybe Trump is hinting towards, he's pointing towards that they're going to get involved in this conflict, because this statement that people of Tehran, they need to evacuate the city immediately, this is not a normal statement. That's when the panic actually started. French President Macron, when he was asked about Trump's early departure, he said that he had to leave because of the geopolitical situation and all those things. Then Trump tweeted that, or Trump made the statement that he did not leave the summit because of these geopolitical tensions. It was not like that. And there have been no peace talks going on between his administration or between him and the Iranian administration. And he said that if they have to make a deal with me, if they want to negotiate with me, if they want to talk to me, they know how to approach me and they can do so, but I'm not negotiating with Iran. Which was once again a direct threat, which was once again another explicit statement. And initially the anticipation in the market was that maybe there have been trade talks going on at the back end, because this is what Trump has been projecting over and over again. This is what the image of Trump is, at least an image that he has created himself, that he works as a person who would intermediate talks between different nations. He has been saying this over and over again, and even in the last 3 or 4 days, he did mention that there is going to be a deal between these two countries, but they need to resolve it. They need to resolve the issue. But the issue is a much bigger. If you would consider the rest of these different variables, because clearly the aggression has been going on from one side, and they have been constantly saying that. Even Trump has been constantly saying that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, right? This has been a very clear, direct statement. And we know that Israel started this bombing. They have been constantly bombing Iran. Obviously, the other side also has taken some extreme measures in the past few years. I'm not going to get into the details of that. I'm not a geopolitical expert, but I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what exactly has been happening in the outside world and what exactly is impacting these markets directly. Talking about the traditional markets, we are 4 minutes away from the cash open. Let's see what happens. Once again, S&P 500, it's sitting at support 2% away from the all-time high. Let's see what happens. But the reaction so far was not good. Maybe some positive developments would happen in the next few hours, and that's when you're going to have some positive reaction. Let's talk about the Bitcoin chart, right? So Bitcoin right now is trading below 106,000 level, which is an important resistance level now, because we had this 4-hour candle close. And then we are also trading below this anchored VWAP. Now anchored VWAP, once again, a very important indicator. You can see this for yourself. We had nice bounce at the anchored VWAP. We did take a long position, if you remember. It got stopped out after TP1. Then we took this short position. It got stopped out after TP1. We did not take this long position. Maybe we should have done that. But anyways, the reaction was very fast, and because there were so many things happening, I had no time to take that short position. Maybe we are going to take this short position, and this is what I'm expecting, that as soon as the market opens, possibly we are going to have another small bounce of this trend line where price would go back up to this anchored VWAP to give a nice bearish retest at this 106,000 resistance level at this anchored VWAP. And then after this small bounce, we would have a major break below, where we would take out all of the stops placed below all of these different lows, below this low, and if we are lucky, then below this low as well. By the way, we have one long position open, okay, and the DCA has not been filled for that long position. I'm looking to open at least one short position to hedge that risk, because I believe that if price goes back up to this anchored VWAP, that's when you're going to have some sort of negative reaction in the market. As I said, I'm not a geopolitical expert. We have some important events coming up tomorrow. FOMC meeting, that's one of the most volatile event usually. It's natural for the market to just have some sort of just go in a risk off sort of mode just before the FOMC meeting. It's a very natural thing. Usually we have a small sell off before the FOMC meeting starts. It's a very common phenomena with the traditional markets and with the crypto market as well. But if price goes back up to 106,000, 106.5k, that's where I'm trying to take a short position. That's where I'm hoping that we can have at least one short position with this tight stop loss, and we can expect the price to break below this trend line. Now, the problem with the trend lines, of course, is that whenever you spot an ascending trend line, price would ultimately break below the trend line, right? You cannot exactly know when that would happen. But looking at the bounces, if it's an ascending trend line, then there are going to be bounces. If there is a descending trend line, then there is going to be rejections. So in this case, since it is an ascending trend line, price has been constantly bouncing off this level. Then we are trading below two major resistance levels. I just mentioned to you the anchored VWAP and the 106,000 resistance levels. So my anticipation is that we would have a small push up to these levels, and that's where you're going to have a major rejection. And this is where we are going to build our short position, probably on Bitcoin, probably on some altcoin. My priority would be Bitcoin, but if I'm able to spot one good short position on any of these altcoins, I would try my best to get into one. So this is the update so far from the Bitcoin chart, just to give you an idea of what exactly has happened. And by the way, an insight into how exactly the anchored VWAP works. And before I do that, 50 plus people are watching this live stream. Only 22 of you have liked it. If you're new to my channel, please make sure to subscribe to it. If you're watching this live stream, please make sure to like the live stream, and soon after it ends, make sure to leave a comment as well. So a basic introduction of how exactly this anchored VWAP is working. So right now we have these two important levels, okay? This would be much more clear if you're looking at the USDT dominance chart, but you have this major swing high, then you have this major swing low, and anything that's happening in between these two levels, this is a swing low, this is a swing high, is simply just an internal structure, right? I'm not going to focus on the big external structure, but anything that's happening in between these two levels is simply just internal structure, meaning that you have no choice except for having your anchored VWAP drawn from this low down to down to this level right here. You have the choice to draw it from this high, but since a new low has not been created and price has not reacted very well to this anchored VWAP, so my priority would be to draw the anchored VWAP from this low. And by the way, you draw the anchored VWAP the very same way as you would draw the fib levels. And we know that in order to draw the fib levels, you need to have a very good understanding of the market structure, or at least a good understanding of how the impulsive and corrective waves work. And in this case, we can see that there was an impulsive wave towards upside. So we can draw the anchored VWAP from the start of impulsive wave, which is this anchor point right here. And we can see that the reaction so far has been really good. So I'm hopeful that, whenever price goes back up to this level, that's when you're going to have some sort of negative reaction. That's when we're going to build a short position. So far, we are trading very weak. So far, we are barely trading, barely holding above this trend line, this ascending trend line, which is not a good situation. And, adding to that situation, we have some global uncertainty, as well. Talking about the Bitcoin chart, going back to the trading view terminal, talking about the Bitcoin chart once again, let's take a look at the dynamic levels, like the 1-day 12-period exponential moving average and the quarterly and the yearly VWAP. So this yellow line right here is this black line right here. You can see that this is the quarterly VWAP on the 4-hour time frame chart. This yellow line right here is the 1-day 12-period exponential moving average. And the bad part is that somewhat bad news is that Bitcoin is not only trading below the 106,000 resistance now, but also trading below 1-day 12-period exponential moving average, and also trading below 4-hour quarterly VWAP and 1-day 12-period exponential moving average. So there are a couple of different resistance levels that Bitcoin would have to go past if it needs to achieve anything extraordinary. And if I'm looking for anything, then that's a short position. I'm looking to build a short position at 106.5k retest. Based on the reaction that we would get, I would wait for the 1-hour candle close at the anchored VWAP to get into the short position. But I just told you that price is looking extremely weak, and I wouldn't really be surprised if we have an immediate sell-off, if we have an immediate break below this trend line. But I'm not going to risk any long position right now, especially considering that we have so many of these important lows, and at some point in time price has to take out all of these lows. We will be looking at the swing failure pattern as well. If price just takes out any of these important lows and then closes a 4-hour or 1-hour candle upside, that's when we're going to build a long position. In case you're wondering about the last move right here as well, this was a perfect swing failure pattern. We can see that price just sweep the liquidity below this low, then we closed a positive candle. And at that time, I was just a little bit busy due to Eid holidays, and that's why I wasn't able to take this long position, but it was a very, very good long position in my opinion, right? This pattern has played out perfectly at so many different occasions. You need to just make sure that whatever time frame you're looking at, 4-hour, hourly, price has just wicked below that level. This is what the swing failure pattern is mostly referred to as. But in order to spot a swing failure pattern, you need to have a good understanding of the major swing highs and major swing lows. This was not only a swing low, but at the same time, this was a major swing low, meaning after the formation of this low, price had an impulsive move towards upside. This is what the definition of a major swing low is. So right now I'm looking to build a short position. Now let's take a look at the USDT dominance chart, because any discussion related to Bitcoin is basically incomplete without the USDT dominance chart. We know that that's the most important chart, that's the correlated chart. So this is the USDT dominance chart, and I was pointing this out in my recent market update as well last night, that somebody was saying that, hey Sherlock, why are we not taking more long positions considering that USDT dominance is breaking below its support level? So once again, USDT dominance has not broken below any of these support levels. Let's first of all look at the market structure, because this is something people are actually confused about, and this is something that I've been pointing out over and over again. I don't know what's going to happen next, but based on the market structure, at least I can make some sort of prediction, right? So if we look at the market structure, let's remove these volume profiles first of all. If we look at the market structure on the daily time frame chart of USDT dominance, and by the way, we know that if the market structure is bullish on the USDT dominance chart, then that's a bearish thing for the Bitcoin chart. If market structure is bearish on the USDT dominance chart, then that's going to be somewhat bullish for the Bitcoin chart. We noticed that, and by the way, this thing I did explain in the last live stream also, in which I was mentioning that, how the market structure is working on the USDT dominance chart, how exactly it has flipped. But I would like to give you a quick recap, a quick overview, what exactly is happening. I'm not going to get into the details of that. If you're interested to know more about this, you can just go and watch the last live stream. That was really important one. You have an impulsive wave, you have a corrective wave, you have impulsive wave, corrective wave, impulsive wave. You had the last break of structure, and then you had this change of character. Price just wicked above this high. I do not consider wicks. I usually consider the candle closes in terms of market structure elements. That's when you had your change of character, market structure shift. So in short, the market structure shift on the USDT dominance chart has already happened. Price has switched from being bearish on the USDT dominance chart to being bullish, which means that it's not really a good thing for the Bitcoin chart. And I have been saying this for the past 2 weeks over and over again. In fact, I tried to open 2 or 3 short positions. We had to close those short positions because so many things were happening at that time. That was a little bit unfortunate. I did explain in the last live streams why did I close my short positions break even, because we had trade talks happening between China and the US here in London, and market was expecting that there is going to be somewhat positive outcome out of those trade talks, and that is why we had to close the short position. But unfortunately, soon after that, we had this sell-off. But the market structure shift has happened, the flip has happened, and the market structure on the USDT dominance chart is already bullish. At that time, everybody was tweeting that good luck shorting Bitcoin at 109k, 108k. Just before this drop happened down to 103k, and price was trading at 109k, 110k. Everybody was tweeting that good luck shorting Bitcoin. it's going to make a new all-time high. But if you remember, I did share an alternate point of view with you, telling you that this pullback on the USDT dominance chart is not really gonna change anything, because this is your major swing low, this is your major swing high. This is what you need to understand. Anything that's happening in this region, these highs and lows, everything, it's simply just internal structure. If price breaks above this high, closes a candle above this high, that's when you have the break of structure, and this is going to be a continuation move, a bearish continuation move on the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin would just break below 100k and create a new low. And if we break below this low, which is a slightly uncommon thing, one change of character after the other, that's when you would have Bitcoin breaking above the 110k, 111k level, which has little possibility as of now, considering all the variables that we just talked about. So I was pointing out at that time that if you would draw the fib levels, if you would look at this move downside, this is simply just a correction. Whenever price is moving in a bullish trend, you have impulsive wave, corrective wave, impulsive wave, corrective wave, impulsive and corrective wave. Market wouldn't always move in a straight line. It would give you these smaller corrections. But what matters is that these corrections are not able to break below the previous lows. This correction did not break below the previous low. This correction did not break below the previous low. Or to say it in the simplest possible terms, the correction waves or the corrective waves are smaller in length in comparison to the impulsive waves. Okay, it's a very well-known fact. We have already talked about this in the previous live streams. And normally in these kind of situations, the method or the tool that you use is draw the fib level, start of impulsive wave, end of impulsive wave, start of impulsive wave, end of impulsive wave, whatever tool you would like to use, right? Or you can simply just draw the volume profile, start of impulsive wave, end of impulsive wave. These are the only two most important tools that you can use in this situation. And then price would ultimately react at the point of control or the volume profile, or price would react at the 65%, 70% fib level. And I was pointing out at that time that if you would draw the volume profile or the fib levels, price is not only sitting at the 70.5% fib level, which is a very important fib level, but at the same time, on the 4-hour time frame chart, if you would draw the volume profile, at the same time, price is sitting at a very important point of control, right? I'm not exactly sure why the point of control is not appearing to be the right one, but the point of control, the last time I showed you, it was appearing somewhere around here. There is some discrepancy in the data, obviously. This is not the right point of control. The right point of control is somewhere around here. In fact, let me show you. It must have been in some of the updates that I shared. Yeah, this is the right point of control level, right? So on the USDT dominance chart, you can see that if you would draw the volume profile, the point of control is present somewhere around 4.50% level. And this is exactly where price bounced off from. And this is what I was pointing out to, that you need to be aware of this fact and need not to make any impulsive decision right now. Now, the expectation is that, and sorry for these brief pauses in my speech, I actually have very intense pain in my jawline for some reason. I don't know what exactly is going on, but every now and then I would wake up during the past few days and I would have this extreme pain in my jaw, in my left jaw. I just had some ice cream during the last few hours, so maybe it's because of that, but I have it makes me sometimes unable to open my mouth, right? So I'm finding it very difficult to speak properly. But anyways, going back to the discussion, the USDT dominance chart is definitely bullish right now on the daily time frame chart, not on the 4-hour, because 4-hour is a smaller one in comparison to daily. So this is a very important thing you need to consider. We are trading above the support level. We are trading above 1-day 12-period exponential moving average. We're trading above all of these other dynamic lines and everything. And not only this, this last retest was down to this support level, right? This last retest on the USDT dominance chart was simply just down to this support level. And price on the USDT dominance chart, once again, to clear the confusion, has not broken below any support levels. It's trading strong, it's trading firm above this support level, right? We have a good reaction at this support. This is what exactly happened during the past 24 hours. So ultimately, what should be happening if everything goes by the book? What exactly should be happening is that price would just continue to move like this and would ultimately create a new higher high. Okay, because on the daily time frame chart, you created the first high. This was your first change of character. Then you would have break above this major swing high, which would give you the next break of structure. This should be the ideal case scenario, and this is what I'm expecting, that price would have a break below 100k. I'm not exactly sure if, because there has been this belief in the market that maybe 100k is going to act as the new floor price for Bitcoin. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt this statement, because we are already trading very close to 100k. But I'm actually surprised that Bitcoin has been holding very well above this 100k level, which is actually a good thing. But the surprising thing is that if you look at the Bitcoin chart, the change of character has not happened on the Bitcoin chart. Now, if in order to understand this whole move, you need to have a good understanding of how exactly the market structure works, right? Because if you would draw the impulsive and the corrective waves, you would notice that this was not really a change of character, right? Even if you consider only the wick, it was just, even if you consider the candle close part, it was just a wick below this last low right here, which means that the market structure shift has not happened on the Bitcoin chart. Now, there are two very important things that I'm actually trying to point out, and please listen to this very carefully. Whenever you draw the market structure, the way that you draw it is that, let's suppose that you have a bullish move towards upside, right? And how would you draw these impulsive and corrective waves? And the reason why I'm trying to explain to you all of this is that most people are drawing it like this: impulsive wave, corrective wave, impulsive wave, corrective wave, and then impulsive wave. And they would say that, okay, this is a change of character. First of all, this is not a change of character, because if you consider a change of character to be a wick below the previous low, this is not really true, because you need to have a proper candle close, okay? So in terms of market structure elements, this is not a change of character. But the second most important part is that this is not even a corrective wave, okay? This is not even a corrective wave. So the way that you would consider it is that impulsive wave, corrective wave, and this whole thing would be considered as one impulsive wave. Now you must have this question that why is Sherlock ignoring this corrective wave, or this move towards downside, or this pullback towards downside? Now remember that there is a difference between the pullback and the corrective wave. Pullback and the corrective wave, these two are different sort of concepts. In this case, you have the corrective wave, but in this case you just have the pullback and not the corrective wave. In order to have a legit pullback, you need to have a candle which creates a new high, and then you need to have the next candles which would, without creating the new high, you can see that no other candles created a new high, need to sweep the low of this candle. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to get into details of that. This is a very advanced topic. It would take you some time to visualize it perfectly. It's not easy to understand, but the way the market structure works in a bullish trend is that one candle needs to create a high, and the next candles, without creating a new high, need to sweep the low of that candle. This is what exactly happened in this situation. Now, what happened in this situation was that this candle created the new high, but the no next candles swept the low of this candle, okay? And they created the new highs. So the second part of the statement was not fulfilled, that the next candles, without creating the new high, need to sweep the low of this candle. So the low of this candle which created the new high was not swept, and the new high was being created. Or you can say that this candle created a high and a low in itself, and it's just the one candle creating a high and the low at the same time, which means that this is not a legit corrective wave, and the structure is going to be impulsive, corrective, and complete impulsive wave, which means that if you need to wait for the market structure shift on the Bitcoin chart, then you need to have a break and close below the 93,000 level. But we know that that's once again a very far-fetched idea. We cannot wait for that long. By the time price would drop down to 93,000 levels, a lot many things would have already happened. So that's when we rely on the 4-hour time frame structure, which already has turned bearish, or we simply just switch to some other charts. Let's just imagine in the form of USDT dominance, which already has given you a change of character, right? So this is the whole market update from my side. I'm looking for the short positions. I'm going to give a short position as soon as I have one. But we just need to wait a little bit, because right now, the market just opened. Just need for the reaction. I have a few short positions in my mind. Let's see what happens. I'm looking at a few coins to open a short position. Cookie is looking really good for a short position. DGen, we already have a long position on this one. DC has not filled on this one, but yeah, I'm looking to open a short. Now over to you guys. If you have any questions, please make sure to drop in the chat box. And once again, who are these 20 people reluctant to like the live stream? Because we have 50 people watching and only 30 of you have liked it. Wouldn't really cost you to like the live stream, right? Take your time, Sherlock. Stay happy and healthy, bro. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Divine. Candle sweeping low, closing bullish, creating engulfing candle higher time frame. What exactly is your question? Using the 3-day or weekly. Harpreet Singh is asking, hey Sherlock, when are you going to drop the next short setup in Discord? The US market just opened, Harpreet. The US market just opened almost 28 minutes ago. Sorry, 18 minutes ago. So the market open has already happened. And I'm going to drop the short as soon as the live stream ends. How about Solana? Solana is trading below $180 resistance level. If you're looking to go long on Solana, if you're looking to buy Solana, wait for $122 region. That's when we're going to bid Solana. We already have bids placed around those levels. And on the Ethereum chart, I know it sounds difficult. I know it sounds like a difficult thing at this moment, but I'm not gonna bid Ethereum any higher than this level. You have the choice to buy Ethereum at 2100 as well, but for some reason, I would like to see a huge wick down to this demand zone. We know that a consolidation before an impulsive move towards upside is a demand zone. A consolidation before an impulsive move towards downside is simply just a supply zone. You have a good example of a supply zone around here, and price, you can see that is struggling to break above this supply zone because we had some sell-off around here. We had some distribution take place around here, and then we had the massive sell-off candle, which basically shows you that this is a good supply zone. And the same way, this is a good demand zone. And Ethereum is sometimes giving you these massive wicks. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a massive wick down to this demand zone where we have our bids placed. In which month you expect the alt season to start? Towards the month of September. But a smaller altcoin rally we can have very soon in the next 1 or 2 weeks, in my opinion. Look at Solana weekly and tell me if you see that mega head and shoulder pattern. Okay, let's take a look at mega head and shoulder pattern on Solana. In fact, Solana had a double top on the daily time frame chart. I don't know about the head and shoulder, but it had this double top. Yeah, this double top, this small double top. And in fact, it turned out to be the right one. Double top, and then price retested the neckline. Perfect move towards downside. But anyways, let's take a look at the weekly time frame chart for Solana. And mind you, Solana has this beautiful looking massive double top pattern. This one right here, which we had a break below, and then we retested the neckline on the weekly time frame chart, right? So it's not going to be easy for Solana to break above this $180 level because it already has created this massive double top pattern. Now, regarding your question about head and shoulder chart pattern, I don't really see any head and shoulder chart pattern, because if you are referring to this being the shoulder, this being the head, and this being the shoulder, no, that's not how the head and shoulder chart pattern looks like. You need to have the next shoulder somewhere around here. Okay, there cannot be this much of a huge difference between the two shoulders. This does look like a double top pattern, but not like a head and shoulder pattern on the weekly. Heads up in Discord before. Yes, I always give heads up before dropping the position. DGen long still good. Jennifer is asking hard stop loss. Yes, it's still good. Even the DCA has not been filled as of yet. So yes, it's looking good. I liked on two accounts. Zik is saying, thank you so much, Zik. I really appreciate that. Rhymes is asking, waiting for BTC bearish retest, please share. Yes, I'm waiting for the Bitcoin bearish retest at this levels, but seems like that price has already started to break below this trend line. I really hope that this does not happen immediately and we have some sort of move towards upside, at least up to 106,000, because I would really like to catch this short position right now. Looking at the market open, price is stable on S&P 500. We have price staying above the support, but Bitcoin is already having this sell-off. We already have a $400 move downside. What do you think of Algo long term? It's sitting at support, but Algorand, it's a good project, but I don't really focus that much on these older projects, the ones that were already there in the last bull run. Dot, Near, Algo, Avalanche, Render Injective are relatively new, but most of these projects now they have been replaced by the new good projects. For example, AI is no longer about Render, FET, Ocean. It's now more about what Tau is doing, right? The market is now more about what Hype Coin is doing, right? And I, by the way, did share this post a few months ago in which I mentioned that you need to understand the development of cycles in the crypto market, the development of narratives in the crypto market, because every now and then the old corpses are going to be replaced by the shinier corpses, right? So this is what exactly happening in terms of narratives also. We had NFTs back in those days, we had gaming narratives, RW is a still good narrative, but we had so many other narratives, DeFi, gaming, um, NFTs, layer one is still relevant, but yeah, we had so many other different narratives back in those days. All of them are constantly getting replaced, liquid staking derivatives, and all those fancy names and everything, roll ups, and now all of these things are getting replaced by these newer um narratives. Do you suggest any mid long term coin? No, except for Bitcoin, ETH. I don't suggest holding any coin for a long term. This is not usually how I look at my spot backs. Yeah, yeah. Surprisingly, Aave is looking good. Aave, it's looking good. It has been sitting above the daily time frame support, but due to this massive sell-off that we had, the chart has been a little bit distorted, but this is still looking good. This is still sitting above the support, and I have not taken any position on this one, but you can see that price is still holding strong above 61%, 65% level. And if market has any sort of positive reaction in the next few weeks, then AVE is going to be on top of my list. It's looking really good, trading above the higher time frame support and trading above this trend line. And I really believe that it can go up to $400 at least. Perhaps look into a medical condition called TMJ. My wife suffers from similar pain in the jaw. John is saying, okay. No, it just started almost like 4 or 5 days ago, because I've not been eating anything except for the ice cream because I was a bit lazy. So I had ice cream in my fridge. So that's what I have been eating for the past 4 or 5 days, and that's when I started to have this very very bad pain in my jawline, and it's just been getting worse. Wisdom teeth. Yeah, maybe. Let's take a look at a few other questions. Do you believe Bitcoin has begun decoupling from the traditional market? No, I don't really think so. I don't really think so. Every now and then we have some sort of decoupling, but it does not stay for a long time. I have not seen a decoupling that would go on for like, days and weeks. I guess 1 or 2 weeks ago, we had some sort of decoupling in which the equity market was going up, the traditional markets were going up, but Bitcoin was down. But apart from that, and this is exactly the bad part. I mean, Bitcoin is being considered digital gold, but if you look at the physical gold, every now and then, when we have macroeconomic uncertainty, when we have tariffs, we have these global conflicts and everything, we would have a massive spike in gold prices. Gold is already trading around its all-time highs. That's when we would have a drop in the equity prices, right? That's when we have sell off in the traditional markets, which means that gold has been serving as a hedge against the equity markets, for so many different for so many years, right? And Bitcoin was supposed to do the same thing, but still Bitcoin has failed to do so. But once again, gold is 5,000 years old. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is only 15 years old. It cannot replace gold immediately. But something which makes me a little bit disappointed is that so far we have not seen that decoupling. Bitcoin was supposed to act as a natural hedge against these traditional markets, but it simply just has become another asset in these traditional markets, reacting in a positive correlation to these traditional markets. The positive correlation is still very high, 0.6, 0.7, which is one of the highest in the whole financial markets, in the whole financial universe, the positive correlation value, which means that Bitcoin is very, very much tied to these traditional markets. And it was in its true sense was to do the opposite thing. But still, whenever there is some sort of uncertainty in the traditional markets, if you would ask a traditional investor if they would like to invest into Bitcoin or the physical gold, their answer would always be physical gold, right? Because people have 5,000 years of trust in physical gold. Same is not the case with Bitcoin. Could you look at the others.d and the total 2 chart? Total 2, I already have shared an update in my channel. You can go and read that update regarding others.d. So many things are happening on others.d. I hope others.d wouldn't break below this support level, because this is not really going to be a good sign. But so far others.d is sitting at this support level, this daily time frame support level, looking very weak. We already have a massive form of lower lows and lower highs. It's not looking good right now, by the way. And if it breaks below, it can easily go back down to 6.99% level. It's currently sitting at 7.30, which is not going to be good for the altcoin. So let's see what happens. But yeah, others.d is still sitting at support, but not looking good right now. If you look at the percentage chart, others chart, it's trading below this level, but it would be able to, just reclaim this level very soon. Anytime we have some good news. I'm still hopeful that on the total 2 chart, on the others chart, very soon we're going to have a break above this massive daily trend line. I'm still more fixated on the timeline part that it's going to be in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Did you already mention any altcoin that look weak? No, I haven't done that as of yet, but I'm looking for 1 or 2 positions that I'm going to open the next few hours. I'm hopeful that we can have 1 or 2 short positions to hedge against our long position. But I'm actually waiting for a price move up to 106.5k, because I do not want to see any sort of drawdown. Opening short position seems a bit risky in comparison to long positions, to be honest, because of the uncertainty we have in the markets. 2 minutes left in the 2-hour close on Bitcoin. I don't really look at the 2-hour closes, 4-hour, and sometimes the hourly closes. I just found you on Twitter and I like your market updates. Thanks for the updates. What is your approach on the market? Just trading? What exactly do you mean by the approach on the market? So my approach, if you're talking about technicals versus fundamentals, my approach has always been technicals, 80% technicals and 20% gut feeling. Okay, I have accepted the reality that you cannot get rid of the gut feeling. You would always have that gut feeling, and it's a good idea to go with the gut feeling part as well. People usually say that you need to have always a mechanical trading system in place, but a lot of decisions that I usually make are not just based on the confluences. I was pointing the same thing out in my last live stream just yesterday in the Discord server as well, that sometimes it's about the subjectivity getting involved as well. A lot many times you would have all the confluences aligning perfectly in one direction, you would still have the losing setup, which means that your gut feeling is going to be the most important thing. Right now, so many different coins are retesting their support levels for the very first time. They're trading above 1-day 12-period exponential moving average, but I wouldn't want to take a long position right now, considering the considering the geopolitical uncertainty that we have going on, the conflict going on in the Middle East. So based on that, I wouldn't really want to take any long position right now, apart from the one that we already have open. So, sometimes you have to have that subjectivity part involved in your analysis. And if I talk about my analysis, the way that I work, it's maybe 80% technicals, 15% gut feeling, and 5% fundamentals also. Fundamentals, not exactly looking at the fundamentals of coin, but the personal experience I have with the coin. Not exactly the personal experience in terms of emotional association. Like, if I had a losing trade on a coin in the past, it's not like I would not want to trade that coin back again. Personal association, sorry, not emotional association or personal association, a personal feeling towards a coin, meaning that if I know that a coin has a history of huge drops or huge pumps and dumps, I would simply just want to avoid trading that coin. And this, in my opinion, is one of the most important things. Altcoin ETF coming in 2 weeks. Altcoin ETF, what exactly do you mean by that? An ETF for all the altcoins? No, that's not realistically possible. We already have ETFs for Bitcoin, Ethereum, ETF for 𝗟𝘃𝗃𝗃, Litecoin. Altcoin ETF, what do you mean by that? Are you talking about the coin alt, ALT? I highly doubt if there is going to be an ETF for any such coin apart from these major cryptocurrencies we already have. XRP, Solana approved, yeah. XRP approved, Solana, and Litecoin as well, yeah. For the rest of these altcoins, until and unless they have some sort of, real world use case, I highly doubt if there is going to be an ETF. But who knows? A few years back, nobody would have thought there is going to be an ETF for Bitcoin, and it's going to be one of the best performing ETFs. But yes, now we not only have the ETF for Bitcoin, but for ETH and some other cryptocurrencies as well, which is a really positive development in these markets. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Once again, it's been almost 1 year that we opened this YouTube channel, and we are still stuck at almost 2100, 2200 subscribers. I would really appreciate if all of you are just able to like the live stream, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're not following me over Twitter, 𝗟𝘅𝗶𝗵𝗵, this is my Twitter handle. I occasionally post market updates and calls over my Twitter account as well. If you would like to receive more organized updates and calls, you can always join the Discord server. The link you can find in the description of this video and in the chat box as well. But once again, I need some support from you guys. I want all of you to support this YouTube channel. I want all of you to just like these live streams and maybe just leave some positive comment as soon as the video gets uploaded, as soon as the live stream ends, because that's when you would be able to drop a comment as well. Love the video and info, man. What's your opinion on XRP medium to long term? Charts looking bullish. Keep up the amazing calls and great info, bro. Thank you so much, Will. Thank you so much. Regarding the XRP chart, I have the same opinion as I have about the Solana chart as well. This is a chart for XRP. You can see that it has been just consolidating in between these two levels. Just like I'm waiting for Solana to visit $122 region, I know that, XRP has amazing potential, right? It's one of the very few coins that actually have some sort of use case, the real world use case for cross-border payments and everything. So it's a highly underrated project. Yes, we, all of us already know about that. XRP, in my opinion, if it drops back down to this level, that's where I'm going to buy into XRP, because there was a massive deviation below this low, which happened back in the month of April. Similarly, we had a deviation below $120 level back in the month of March on the Solana chart. So I'm just waiting for the retest of these deviations. That's when I'm going to look into XRP and Solana. Let's set an alert around here, but I'm not a buyer. If you have been trading with me, you would know that I usually just trade at the levels, at the fixed levels. I do not usually trade anything or any of these charts while they're trading in the middle of nowhere. So I would really want for XRP to drop back down to this support, and that's where I'm going to bet XRP if I have to. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And as I was saying that, I really want all of you to support this YouTube channel. And the way that you can do is by liking these live streams and, leaving a comment on the videos and, sharing the channel, subscribing to it, liking all of these live streams, and I would really appreciate that. We already have 2200 subscribers, but I really want this channel to grow moving forward explosively, just like some other YouTube channels. have been growing in the same niche. So I would really appreciate that if all of you are able to support. Thank you so much for joining. Take care. Have a great week ahead. And please do not forget to take a look at the Discord server. For those of you who already have the premium subscription, I'm going to share a short position as soon as the live stream ends, probably in the next like 30 minutes or so. I would give you a heads up in the swing trading channel. Thank you so much. Take care. Explosive as in yeah, something like that. I want an exponential explosive growth on my channel, and it's only going to be possible with the help from you guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great week ahead. Thank you. And for those of you who are in the Discord server, we are going to have a regular live stream tomorrow, probably around like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. in the Discord server. You can also join in if you're a free member. All you have to do is just join the Discord server. Just join the Discord server. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.